friends, welcome back to another episode of my Victorian Sims 2 challenge. Now, things are going to be a little bit different today because, well, we don't have a vignette. My game is running a little poorly at the moment, which you know if you've been participating in my streams since yesterday. Yeah, we're struggling. We're struggling a little bit, but that's okay. We are pushing through it and moving on anyways. And also, this is the last episode of season 1. We're like, what, 50 episodes in? So honestly, it was about time. So I decided that this would be a good moment to take a small breather from New Whitby. Recording has been a little bit challenging given a lot of the pink soup or invisible soup now that I have the pink soup fix. We're gonna take like maybe a month or two off and work on the downloads folder. I'm pretty confident that once we get the downloads folder a little bit like better underway, the game will be running beautifully again. We'll see. I'm cautiously optimistic, but anyways, let's dive right into it. So we are here with the Price household, and if you remember from last rotation, I know it was a little while ago, we actually lost our matriarch of the household, Miss Delphine Holloway Price. Now, this was a big blow for the family. Everyone is pretty upset. You can see we actually do still have like the baptism and everything set up for little Raphael, their only baby at the moment. And Marcus and Julian are honestly taking this loss really heavily. Marcus was a little bit more devoted to his wife in their later years, especially after Molly moved out. But we also have the Averys here. So because the family is kind of struggling and grieving at the moment, Marion, who is married to Julian, her parents are here. The Averys are here to help out. And that's actually super helpful because Marion just pops into her first trimester. That is right. She is having another baby. And so you can see we have little Raphael here and Raphael's cousins. We have Lisette and Josephine, and those are Leonara's kids. And of course, we also have our new maid. This is only our second episode with Miss Anne Marshall, our new maid, after Marcus and Julian ran off the last one. Honestly, we just can't keep maids in this house. I don't know what the issue is, but this family just runs people away so quickly. And so Anne fits in pretty well with the family. She's pretty quiet. She keeps to herself, which honestly is probably the best case scenario given the circumstance we're currently in. But Marcus is actually a doting grandfather. Marion barely has to lift a finger because Grandpa Marcus is really taking in all of his grief by just putting it into the grandbaby. And so it's Raphael's birthday. He's going to be aging up into a toddler, and you can see the maid is super excited and has also been very involved in Raphael's growth, which is really sweet. It's nice to have like a really good domestic servant relationship in the household. Honestly, they could use another domestic servant. We just don't have quite anyone in the neighborhood that would fit that role right now. Eventually, I'm thinking they'll get a butler. So here's little Raphael. I think he looks absolutely adorable. And right after that, I send everyone to bed, and lo and behold, we have a thief. We have a burglar come by. Thankfully, the burglar takes one look inside and decides to turn around and actually ends up going to steal the car because of course they would steal the carriage. This is just prime. And because they're outside, I have a feeling they're probably going to get away, unless they go inside to steal some more things. So the burglar is actually heading back inside. This gives us enough time, I think, to actually call the police. Also, you may notice some of the furniture looks a little bit different, has been defaulted back to some Max's stuff. I'm playing around with the downloads folder. I kind of have to do that in order to actually get the game to run. And we have her running away. No, is she really gonna get away? Are you serious? Oh my gosh, she got away. The police car is literally right there. Ugh. Okay, well that was really frustrating. But Look how cute Raphael is. I have these great little like teeny tiny toddler tables with snacks that are always on the table. So that way we don't end up with bottles literally everywhere and the babies can be kind of self-sufficient and feed themselves. I was pretty happy with this outcome. I've never actually used these before because they feel kind of like cheating to me. And so very pregnant Marion sees her husband and is like, no. You've already ruined my life by giving me a pregnancy again, the second pregnancy. And it is actually time for labor. This pregnancy went by so fast. So we're going to click oh my god, no. Please let it just be twins. Oh my god, I hope it's okay, it's just twins. All right, I'm not emotionally prepared for quadruplets at the moment, so that would have been a whole ordeal. So we've got cute little twins here, and you can see they're actually in a different bed than they started off in because they did end up having a little boohoo in a different bed. Julian was able to convince his wife to have a little fun time with him. Good on you, Julian. Congrats. So she hands off the first baby to Julian and promptly goes into giving birth to the little second baby. And okay, well that's weird. I'm not sure why Anne is crying in the corner there. But we named them Grant and Wentworth. And so I am super excited. I think they're adorable. I'm really happy to have more boys in the neighborhood because, oh my god. Of course, immediately upon birth, it is Marcus's time to pass away. Although Marcus, it seems, has some unfinished business and is not exactly feeling ready to go. So with life passing away, we also have some new life occurring in the neighborhood. Kind of exciting, kind of sad, but we also have a bunch of inheritances that are being inherited now. So this is little Wentworth. I think Wentworth is the one with the darker skin and the freckles. He's cute. And then we've got Grant over here. I love Grant. They're such cute twins. I'm really happy with them. And while the babies are getting a lot of attention, Anne is taking care of little Raphael as well. And so finally things start to settle down. Of course, everyone is still grieved mostly, but right when I think things are calmed down, we have floating head Julian over here who lost his job, but glitched and didn't quite lose the job, but definitely lost the job. So it turns out that Grumpy Sims can't keep jobs, because they go to work and they're always in a terrible mood. And being in a very, very terrible mood while at work apparently decreases your job performance. So Julian's having a little bit of a rough time. He was also up with the twins all night last night and is just generally exhausted, having a really bad time. So I don't know if we're actually even going to be able to make his lifetime want, because his lifetime want is actually to reach the top of the medical career. I really thought we were going to be able to get there, but apparently not. Like, you think it's okay, and then bam, Julian ruins some more. But also, these two are actually like perfect for each other because they go from being like romantic and cuddly and canoodly to literally like grumpy stance and staring at each other. Like, it's perfect. I couldn't have designed anything better. So it is now time for the twins' birthdays. Things are just rolling by in this episode. We have a lot of time passing in the very early portion of this episode, but things slow down a little bit later. So here we've got Wentworth aged up into a toddler, and look at Wentworth and Grant. They're so cute. I never actually have toddlers autonomously do this, and so when I saw that that was the first thing they did when they aged up, I was like, oh, my heart, it's so cute. And it's also Raphael's birthday. We have so many birthdays this episode. So Raphael is going to be aging up into a child. I'm so excited to not have a toddler. Honestly, Raphael has been a pretty good kid. Like, he was a very self-sufficient toddler and overall just like wasn't screaming and crying constantly. Like, he was really good. He was great to have, and I think he's going to be an even better child and teenager. So I'm very excited to see him age up and the personality that he develops. Here he is. I think he's stunning. Like, what a gorgeous child with those Holloway eyes. So I also decide, you know, we're getting a bunch of phone calls from Leonora like, hey, I miss you. Is everything okay? I haven't heard from you in a while. So I figure it's time that we invite Leonora's family over. So Leonora is married to Harrison. Unfortunately, Leonora is really upset about her mom's death. Leonora and Delphine were really close, and Leonora is really kind of like the only one who knew that Marcus kind of cheated on their mother. And so she has like a bit of a special relationship with her mom, and even Harrison is really upset as well, which is kind of heartbreaking to see. But one thing I was really excited about was getting the kids to actually like develop friendships with each other. I wanted the cousins to sort of become friends, have a rapport with each other, and so we have a very glitchy and invisible Raphael hanging out with Lisette. I thought maybe they could be cute little good friends. We're not doing like first cousin marriages in my game just because the game doesn't support that. Although that is something that would happen in this period, like maybe they would have been a good match. I'm probably not going to go down that route because I would need to be fussing with genetics maybe, or a mod. I don't know. We'll come back to that eventually if we change our mind. But gosh, they're such cute kids. Like the Holloways and Prices, like adorable. Those blue-eyed genetics, man, they just get me. And these two twins are just the cutest things. They do everything together. They play with their little activity board upstairs. They actually have a really nice little nursery now. So we have a separate nursery for the kids and a room with toys for the children. So we're actually starting to kind of fill out the house a little bit more and start to like develop individual spaces for the kids, because before I would just shove all the kids in one space, you know, a little bit lazy about it. So now that Marcus has passed away, it's time for Julian to head out and meet with a lawyer and talk about the will. So we head over to the town hall and we meet Nathaniel Lawson, our good lawyer in town. So Nathaniel has some surprising news for Julian. Basically, Marcus actually left about 8,000 simoleons for a girl named Brooke Clark. Now, Julian remembers Molly Clark and is very aware that something weird is going on here for their former maid's daughter to be in his will. So basically, Nathaniel explains everything that they need to know. He fills him in on the fact that in cases like this, it usually means that this person named in the will is their illegitimate child. And Julian is kind of shocked. Like, he just really totally wasn't expecting this. He had no idea that Marcus and Delphine even like had issues growing up. So he's just honestly kind of shocked about the inheritance fact, about the fact that like he has a sibling, basically. Like, he just wasn't expecting to have an illegitimate sibling. Like, that's just nothing he ever anticipated on. And so he goes home, he kind of sits down in the drawing room and waits for his wife to be done with her bath because he wants to chat with Marion and kind of figure out what he should do about the situation. He and Marion usually talk about everything. Anyways, they have a really good relationship, and so he fills Marion in, and Marion is like, you know what? Like, it's not all bad. You have a new sibling, and sometimes those are things we can celebrate, even though, you know, it's not exactly the circumstances that we were anticipating upon. So they chat for a little while. Julian feels a bit better about the circumstance, and Nathaniel had encouraged him to go himself to meet Brooke and tell her about the inheritance, because Nathaniel could have done it, but it would mean more coming from a family member. And so Julian decides, you know what, first thing in the morning, I'm gonna go. Apparently she is boarding at the Windermere school, finishing school for girls, and so he decides to head there bright and early, 7 a.m. And so here we are, the Windermere School. It's beautiful. I'm obsessed with this build. I did the build myself, but I think it's gorgeous. And look at this animated tree. Like, I know that's really a silly thing to be obsessed with, but like, animated trees in The Sims 2. Like, who knew? Who knew? So the girls are currently taking their morning reads, morning studies in the library on the second floor. So Julian knocks on the door. He's greeted by Teresa. And Marcy is currently observing the girls in the library, so he's talking to essentially his Aunt Teresa. And so this is a little bit awkward because Teresa like grew up around Marcus and Molly, and she kind of knows. Like, Marcus's siblings, they kind of know what's going on. Like, Sophronia knew, Teresa knew. It was very obvious. So Teresa, feeling very awkward, does chaperone the conversation between Julian and Brooke. And so, as you can see, Brooke is kind of not anticipating this news and actually takes it a little bit negatively. You know, she had some suspicions because she would see Marcus come to her house, talk to Sophronia, and talk to Molly. And Molly, her mother, would always get so upset whenever Marcus came around. So she always suspected that there was something going on between her mom and Marcus, but she never completely understood or knew that it meant Marcus was actually her father. And now she has all of these siblings, and like Prudence and Lilith, two of the girls who live in the finishing school with her, they're twins, and they're apparently her sisters. And she's just absolutely shocked. This completely changes her entire outlook on life because she's always felt like she didn't quite fit in, and now she kind of understands why she's been pushed into these sort of awkward situations. Like, she was funded to come to the finishing school, and she didn't really understand why, because she was just the daughter of a maid who was on good terms with the family she lived with. And so it's all just very, very awkward. Meanwhile, Lilith and Prudence are very confused because they know their brother is here, but they don't know why. So it's all very, very awkward. Brooke gets up and kind of can't take it anymore and runs upstairs to kind of like take some space, splash some water on her face. And Noemi does follow her, and she's a little bit concerned about what's going on because she hears like these rapid footsteps. She hears her kind of being upset. But Brooke doesn't really let her come in. She doesn't want to talk to anyone. She just kind of wants to take a minute to herself, which she does. And eventually she's able to kind of like calm down, collect her thoughts, and sort of go back downstairs to play some piano. At this point, Julian doesn't know what's going on. He finally leaves, and Brooke has a little bit of an existential crisis at this point. Not that we can blame her, because she just found out she has this entire family that she knew nothing about. And not only that, but a family that is elevated above her socially, like a lot. So the circumstance is really quite uncomfortable. We see her actually throwing a lot of tantrums. Her aspiration meter is all the way in the red. It's completely red. It's very bad. Now, news has spread throughout the finishing school really quickly. A lot of the other girls are still continuing with their studies the next day. However, Prudence is taking a little bit of time to herself. Teresa let Prudence kind of just like have a day off because she could tell that Prudence was really struggling with a lot of the things going on and finding out that like, okay, this girl Brooke here, actually my sister, we've been living with her at the finishing school for years and I had no idea. And as you might know, Prudence is actually very moral. And so she's very disappointed in her father. Now, we also end up having a fight. And you guessed it, it involves Brooke. And so because Brooke's aspiration meter is so low, it's very clear that Eliza is not at fault, despite the fact that Eliza won the fight. And Brooke is the one who started the fight. Now, this is a big deal. They're in finishing school. The Windermere Finishing School has a zero tolerance policy for physical fighting. And so Marcy has the unfortunate task of actually telling her, like, I'm sorry, but you have to leave. This is incredibly inappropriate. You know better. Like, we know and we understand that you're going through stuff, but that doesn't make this okay. So Brooke packs her things. She doesn't have much, and she heads off. It's late in the evening to move back in with her mom, Molly, ironically enough, at Eliza's home, because she's Sophronia's daughter. So it's all very complicated. Sophronia doesn't exactly understand or know yet that Brooke fought her daughter, who used to be her best friend, which is super weird because they grew up together. So they're not kicking her out of their house yet. It's just a little uncomfortable at the moment. And so it's also time for the twins' birthdays. It's really exciting because Lilith and Prudence are the first ones to actually age up and get their certificates from the finishing school, which means they can officially go out and start courtship process, and they can be off into society as high ladies. And so they will be moving back into the family house just for a little while they finish some courtship processes. Lilith already has a betrothed, so you can see Marius the blonde in the back there. That is Philippa's grandson. And Marius Lawson is going to be married to Lilith at some point. So here we have Lilith. I gave her some pretty little green earrings. I think she's adorable. She looks so much like Delphine. It actually kind of breaks my heart a little bit. And here we have Prudence. I keep Prudence in the same haircut because it's very sensible hair, and I think it suits her very well. So Brooke heads home amongst all the chaos and kind of stops and hesitates in front of the door. But as soon as she walks in, she sees her mom in aspiration failure. And this all happens so fast, her mom doesn't even have knowledge that she was kicked out of the finishing school. And she also doesn't know that Marcus left her daughter money in his will. So it's all very interesting. Brooke hasn't decided what to do with the money yet. At the moment, she is just focused on making sure that her mom is okay, so she gives her a big hug and just wants to check in, and she doesn't understand what's going on, but she realizes now that the aspiration failure might have something to do with the death of her long-lost lover. So with that, it is officially the end of Season 1 of the Victorian Sims Challenge. Thank you all so much for your support these last, 2-3 years that we've been doing this challenge. We will return in a month or two. In the meantime, we'll be focusing on some other series. I'll be launching a Decades Challenge for The Sims 4, just so I have a Sims game that functions and doesn't crash on me. I know, I never thought I would say that we would be getting that out of The Sims 4 and not The Sims 2, but here we are, here we go. So thank you all so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!